On today's show, the streak lives on for the Cleveland Cavaliers. They won their 12th straight game by defeating the Chicago Bulls 119 to 113 on Monday night. Donovan Mitchell had 36 points. Ty Jerome was awesome off the bench, and we're going to talk about all of it right here on today's Locked On Cavs.
You are Locked On Cavs, your daily Cleveland Cavaliers podcast.
Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up, everybody? My name's Danny Cunningham. You might know me from my time covering the Cleveland Cavaliers, places like my new Substack, The Inside Shot, Cleveland Magazine, 92.3 The Fan, and a number of other stops along the way. I want to say thank you to you for making Locked On Cavs your first listen today and every day. You can find the show anywhere you get your podcasts, Apple, Spotify, anywhere else. Drop us a 5-star rating. Leave us a nice review as well. Be a friend. Tell a friend about the Locked On Cavs podcast. Make sure you're subscribed. Make sure a friend is subscribed as well. Also, the show is available on YouTube. Just search Locked On Cavs on YouTube. If you're watching this right now, do me a favor, hit that thumbs up button for me. Click subscribe and hit the notification bell so you don't miss the latest Locked On Cavs content as soon as it comes your way. A proud part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Today's show, of course, is sponsored by FanDuel. You can start the season with a big return on FanDuel. New customers can place a $5 bet, and you'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. Visit FanDuel.com to get started today. Also need to let you know the Locked On Cavs now has a newsletter. Introducing the Locked On Cavs Daily Newsletter. It is your one stop for ultimate team and league coverage delivered right to your inbox. Sign up for free now at LockedOnDaily.com. That's LockedOnDaily.com, and start your day with the all-new free Locked On Cavs newsletter. The Cleveland Cavaliers didn't have their best stuff again on Monday night, but it didn't matter because once again, this team does what this team does best, and that is find a way to win basketball games. They moved to 12-0 with a 119 to 113 win over the Chicago Bulls. Donovan Mitchell, I thought, was really, really good in this game. Certainly in the first half, he was a big reason why the Cavs had a good first half tonight. Scored 25 points in the first half. His jump shot was working, hit 7 threes on the night. I think that first half, probably the best half he has played this season. And overall, this was probably the best game that Donovan has played this season as well. That, to me, is one of the biggest reasons why the Cavs were able to win this game, because they didn't play defense all that well for the most part. I will talk about the third quarter with the bench bunch coming up, because that, to me, was an incredibly impressive part of this game for the Cavs. They didn't win this game without that group. They certainly don't win this game without Ty Jerome. But Donovan Mitchell did Donovan Mitchell things, too. He was really good when they needed him to be really good. And I think that this is a team right now that looks kind of tired. They've played 12 games in 20 days to open up the season. That's a really tough stretch of basketball. And it gets to a point where I don't think it matters who the opponent is. Like, it doesn't matter that the Chicago Bulls aren't great. It doesn't matter that Saturday's opponent, the Brooklyn Nets, aren't a great team. Because the Cavs have played so much basketball in such a short period of time, where they have played more games than everybody else in the NBA. No one has played more games so far this season than the Cavs have. So it gets to a certain point when this team just does not have rest, that they're going to look tired, that their legs are going to look a little bit heavy. I don't think there's a better example than Donovan Mitchell missing that dunk that he missed in the fourth quarter. That dunk would have finished the game. Now, the Cavs still won. It didn't matter. But I think Donovan Mitchell with fresh legs probably doesn't miss that. And I do think if the starters were playing heavier minutes than they are, they'd be in much worse shape. Part of the reason why they're able to gut through these games, despite how much basketball they've had to play recently, is because the minutes for the starters are down. Part of that's because of the way Kenny Atkinson coaches. Part of that is because they had a handful of blowout wins earlier in the season. But Donovan Mitchell, to me, was the best player on the floor tonight. The Cavs are at a point, because of how tired they are, and I just explained why, they're going to have nights, and I talked about this on yesterday's show. There are going to be moments when this Cavs team needs Donovan Mitchell to step up, when this Cavs team needs Donovan Mitchell to go out and be a superstar. Those moments so far this season have been few and far between, and that's a really good thing. That's one of the best things about this Cavs team. But they're still going to need their superstar to go be a superstar. And Monday night, they needed their superstar, Donovan Mitchell, to go be a superstar. And that's exactly what Donovan Mitchell did. I thought the way he came out in this game was awesome. I was it was in the back of my mind that, okay, well, he also had a really good first quarter against Brooklyn on Saturday and then wasn't great the rest of the game. But I thought that he carried it over. The second quarter, he was really good. And then in the fourth quarter, third quarter, I thought he was a little bit passive, which, we can talk maybe tomorrow about the Cavs' struggles in the third quarter. But then in the fourth quarter, he scored 10 points, and the Cavs needed it. The Cavs needed a boost because the rest of the starting lineup, Darius Garland, I thought his shot looked a little bit off, which is definitely a sign of tired legs, right? So I thought that looked a little bit off. I just didn't think that the starters had it tonight, and they look like a group, like I said, that is a little bit tired. So they needed Donovan to step up. And not only did he score 36 points, he had 8 rebounds. It's a really big deal. I believe he had 4 steals on the night as well. They needed him to do all of those things. They needed him to bring it on both ends of the court. They needed his rebounding. They needed his defense. They needed his scoring. They needed his shooting. They needed his playmaking. They needed everything that Donovan Mitchell was able to give them on Monday night. The Cavs needed it. They needed that was a superstar performance. I don't care that it might not have been his most efficient game. I don't care that he settled for maybe a few more threes than you'd like. I think he was 7 of 16 from beyond the arc. I don't care about that stuff. What Donovan Mitchell was on Monday was a superstar. And that's the reason why the Cavs are 12-0 after that game, because Donovan Mitchell showed up and did superstar things. I also thought it was really good to see, after not having a great game, which he's allowed to not have a great game, Darius Garland helped close that game out. And he has shown so far this season, I think the best thing about his season, and we're talking about a guy that just won Player of the Week, announced on Monday afternoon. I think the best thing so far about Darius Garland's season has been the way that he played in the clutch. And I talked about this extensively on yesterday's episode. But again, in clutch time on Monday night, scores the basket that really puts the game away. That was the basket that, okay, this game is over. The Cavs are winning with less than a minute left. A few possessions before that, penetrates into the lane and finds Evan Mobley for an alley-oop. That was a really big play. Darius Garland has stepped up at the end of games, and Monday night was no different. This is who he's been. He's the guy that looks fearless. He's the guy that looks confident. He's the guy that looks capable of, when the team needs him or needs somebody, whether it's him, Donovan, Evan, whoever, when they need somebody to say, all right, get on my back, we're going home, Darius Garland's been capable of doing that. And it wasn't the most impressive finish to a game he's had on Monday night, right? Like you think of New York, you think of Milwaukee, even Brooklyn, you think of those games, it's like, okay, this is Darius Garland. Monday night wasn't that, but there were glimpses of it. There was enough of it that said, okay, this guy's here and he's doing these types of things again. So when you can combine that with the performance Donovan Mitchell had, that's a way for a good team to win on a night when they very clearly don't have their best stuff. They didn't have their best stuff against Brooklyn. They didn't have their best stuff against Chicago. I don't know if they're going to have their best stuff against Philadelphia on Wednesday, but the fact that they keep finding ways to win these basketball games when they clearly don't have their best performance, that to me is not only really impressive, but it's a sign of a really great team too. Good teams don't win games. And I said this on after Saturday's game. Good teams don't win games like Saturday and like Monday night, truthfully. Great teams win games like Saturday and Monday night. The Cavs have announced themselves as a great team. They're number 1 in all the power rankings. They are 12-0. They're the 8th team in NBA history to begin the season 12-0. This is a team that is a true championship contender. Whether everyone likes it or not, this is a team that is capable of winning the finals this year. I didn't know that I believed that before the season, but because of and it's not just the record, it's the way they've gotten to the record. That is what has made me believe. Because when Darius isn't having a great night, Donovan's capable of being a superstar. When Donovan might not be having the best night, Evan Mobley is capable of being a dominant force offensively. If Evan doesn't have it going on, Jarrett Allen can step up. And I know we do have to talk about Jarrett Allen leaving the game with what looked to be an injury. We don't have an update yet, but I do want to talk about the potential ramifications that can have. But what I'm getting at, or even as was the case tonight, and I'm going to talk about this in a second, the starters might not have it just as a whole. Now, I don't necessarily include Donovan in that, but the starters didn't have the juice they needed in the third quarter. So what did Kenny Atkinson do? He turned to the bench, and that bench put on, I think, the performance of the night. We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about Ty Jerome, and we're going to talk about the play of the night because it all goes together. We're going to do that next right here on Locked On Cavs. Today's show is brought to you by Mint Mobile. With big wireless providers, what you see is never what you get. And somewhere between the store and your first month's bill, the price you thought you were paying magically skyrockets. Well, with Mint Mobile, you'll never have to worry about those gotchas ever again. When Mint Mobile says $15 a month when you purchase a 3-month plan, they mean it. So say bye-bye to your overpriced wireless plans, jaw-dropping monthly bills, and unexpected overages. Mint Mobile is here to rescue you with premium wireless plans starting at $15 a month. All plans come with high-speed data and unlimited talk and text delivered on the nation's largest 5G network. Use your own phone with any Mint Mobile plan and bring your phone number along with all your existing contacts. So ditch overpriced wireless with Mint Mobile's deal and get 3 months of premium wireless service for $15 a month. To get this new customer offer and your new 3-month premium wireless plan for just $15 a month, go to mintmobile.com/lockedonnba. That's mintmobile.com/lockedonnba, LOCKEDONNBA. Cut your wireless bill to $15 a month at mintmobile.com/lockedonnba. $45 upfront payment required, equivalent to $15 a month. New customers on first 3-month plan only. Speed slower than 40 gigabytes on unlimited plan. Additional taxes, fees, and restrictions do apply. See Mint Mobile for details. Thank you again for making Locked On Cavs your first listen today and every day. You can find the show anywhere you get your podcasts, Apple, Spotify, anywhere else. Drop us a 5-star rating. Leave us a nice review. Be a friend. Tell a friend about the Locked On Cavs podcast. Also available on YouTube. Just search Locked On Cavs on YouTube. If you're watching this video right now, do me a favor. Hit that thumbs up button for me. Click subscribe and hit the notification bell so you don't miss the latest Locked On Cavs content. The Cavs won this game, I thought, in the third quarter. That is when, because during stretches in the third quarter, and the Cavs were, I believe, up 1 at halftime. I think it was 67-66. And the starters came out and they just kind of didn't have that juice coming out of the locker room, which I do think has been a bit of a recurring problem for this team. And it is something that does need to get figured out. Now, it hasn't cost them, obviously, because they're 12-0. And it's better to learn about these things and how to fix these things in close wins like this one than it is losses where it does actually cost you. But the way Kenny Atkinson handled it, I thought was really interesting. And we did see in the first half a lineup without either Darius Garland or Donovan Mitchell, where that group, I believe, was Ty Jerome, Caris LeVert, Sam Merrill, Dean Wade, and Evan Mobley. And that went okay. And then in the second half, we saw that group, but with George Niang in for Evan Mobley instead. And that went incredibly well. They, at one point, that group, the bench bunch, all 5 bench players, they were down by 9 points against Chicago, and they needed a spark. And Ty Jerome has been the guy that I think we have been able to watch the Cavs count on to provide that spark, whether it's been scoring, whether it's been a steal, whether it's been a big hustle play, whatever the Cavs have needed from Ty Jerome has delivered. And that to me has been, I think, the most pleasant surprise of this season, because we didn't know what to expect of Jerome coming into this year after he played 15 minutes last year, had to have ankle surgery and just everything that goes along with it. But nights like tonight, they don't win this game without Ty Jerome. I have zero doubt about that. Ty Jerome tonight for the Cavs played 21 minutes off the bench, finished with 12 points, had 6 assists, 4 rebounds, 3 steals, and the Cavs outscored the Bulls by 21 points in those 21 minutes. In a 6-point win, that's a really, really big deal. And the play of the night, I do not think the Cavs win this game without the play Ty Jerome made in the third quarter, where he, at first, got a steal off of the Cavs missed a shot, took and missed a 3, tracked down his own offensive rebound, saved the ball to Dean Wade. Dean Wade found Caris LeVert for an open 3 at the top of the key. that cut Chicago's lead from 9 points down to 6 points. And there are these moments in basketball games when, the deficit still might be considerable, and 6 points is still a considerable deficit. It's still a 3-possession deficit. Now they or 2-possession deficit. Sorry. Now they closed it in the next 2 possessions because they hit a 3 and then Georgia Niang had an and 1. But there are these moments that you can look at and say, and I don't even think this is a hindsight thing. I thought this watching the game. When that happened, you get the feeling that, okay, this team is just going to find a way. I don't know what they're going to do. I don't know how it's going to happen. But when you see a play like that, when you see a play where Ty Jerome gets a steal, misses a 3, has to fight for an offensive rebound, and then it leads to a made 3, that is something that I think can build a ton of confidence for the team that does that, right? For the Cavs in this case. But that's also something that's like backbreaking to the Bulls, because if you're Chicago in that situation, you have a 9-point lead. You feel like you have this team in the Cavaliers on the ropes. They don't have a single starter in the game, and that break doesn't go your way. If that goes their way, say Caris LeVert misses that 3 and the Bulls get a rebound and go down and score, and all of a sudden it's an 11-point game, I'm not sure the Cavs have it within them on a night when they don't have their best stuff to come back and win that game. But this was the play to me that I sat up. I said, you know what? I think they're going to find a way to win this game because of that type of play, because I know the psychological impact it can have both positively for the team that makes that play and negatively for the team that sees that play be made. And consistently all year, the Cavs have been the team that has made that play. They did it again tonight. They've done it in several games. Think back to the Brooklyn game on Saturday when Kenny Atkinson went to, the super small unit with Evan at center, and it was Dean Wade at center for a couple minutes before that, but it was 4 guards and Evan Mobley, and that really worked. Nothing was working in the third quarter for the Cavs tonight. What does Kenny Atkinson do? He goes to an all-bench lineup that really hasn't played together in meaningful minutes yet. And what does it do? It turns a 9-point deficit into a 3-point lead. Really, they were up 6 before they had a bad end of the third quarter. That is a huge turnaround. I thought the way they did it was interesting too, because when you see a group that hasn't played much together, I think it can be difficult to get too complex on either end of the floor. Like I do think you kind of have to be a little bland and run a lot of pick and roll offensively. And defensively, you can, with this group specifically, I think you can switch a lot, maybe not 1 through 5, because I don't know how many centers you want Ty Jerome switching onto. Not many, but the Cavs played zone. And that to me was one of the bigger surprises, that they spent a solid 5 minutes, right, in the third quarter playing zone defense, and it gave Chicago fits. And I think part of that's probably because with Dean Wade playing center and being the size he is, they didn't want to give Chicago the opportunity to just attack Dean Wade like that in man-to-man with the mismatch that, I think Vucevic was in the game for Chicago. I'm not positive on that, but that would obviously be something that the Bulls could go to. But by playing a zone defense, I think it made life much more difficult on Chicago. And I was surprised to see just how well a group that had never done that before in a game was able to execute that in moments that mattered. That to me was something that was really, really impressive. That was one of the standout parts of this game. And it speaks to, man, everything that Kenny Atkinson is doing right now with this team, it's working out. Every lever that he pulls, every decision that he makes, if the first decision he makes doesn't work, the next one does. That's how it's been all year long. I think that's a product of this team trusting its head coach. I think it's a product of this head coach trusting his entire roster. I mean, Kenny played 10 guys, which has been standard so far this year. Everyone played at least 17 minutes. That can be really difficult to do. That can be really difficult to manage. It can be really difficult to win like that. The Cavs have consistently done it. I don't know what it is about Kenny Atkinson that's making this work, but everything he wants to do, it feels like everything he tries just works to perfection. Monday night was another example of it. Just like Saturday night was an example of it in the fourth quarter. This was the third quarter where They went to a 5-man bench unit. They ran a zone defense. Two things that you don't see very often in the NBA. And it was a 12-point turnaround. It's incredible what this team has been able to figure out. It's incredible how many different things are working for this team. And it's incredible they're able to find ways to win when they very clearly don't have their best stuff. Now, of course, Donovan Mitchell is a big part of that because he was awesome. But make no mistake, a big reason why the Cavs won this game was because of the play of their bench. And those guys deserve a lot of credit. It feels like this is the second or third time we've been able to say, you know what? I don't think the Cavs win that game without Ty Jerome. It might be more than 3 times, might be 5 times. And for the guy that's kind of your 10th man right now, that's a really good thing to be able to say. There was a guy that left the game, did not return to the game. We don't have an update on him, but we need to talk about the ramifications of what this Cavs team could look like if Jarrett Allen needs to miss a little bit of time next, right here on Locked On Cavs. Today's show is brought to you by FanDuel. FanDuel is, of course, America's #1 sportsbook. And right now, new customers can bet $5 and get $150 back in bonus bets if you win that first $5 bet. Maybe that first $5 bet's going to be on football. Maybe it's going to be on basketball. Maybe, I don't know, it's going to be on hockey. I know nothing about hockey. I have no advice to give as far as that goes. Put the puck in the net and you seem to do pretty well if you can keep it out of the net on the other end of the ice. And that has been 10 seconds of hockey talk here on Locked On Cavs. But FanDuel gives you everything you need to place live bets on all those sports all in one place. So when you get a hunch in the middle of a game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, so much more on the same page where you place your bets. Where's that page? That page, of course, is FanDuel Sportsbook. So head on over to FanDuel.com to join today. One of the things I've been looking at lately, the NBA Cup is fast approaching. Today is actually the first NBA Cup day. Now, of course, the Cavs don't play. Their first NBA Cup game will be on Friday when they take on these very same Chicago Bulls that we've been talking about. They are plus 220 to win Group C in the NBA Cup. I think that's solid value, but I would take it a step further. The Cavs have the 3rd best odds to win the NBA Cup tournament, only behind Boston, New York. That's it. They're at plus 1,000. I am not positive they're going to win Group C. That game next Tuesday night is going to be a really big deal in Boston, right? So I don't know that that's going to happen, but plus 1,000, I think is pretty good value. You can get that on FanDuel right now. So what you need to do is head on over to FanDuel.com today and sign up. That's FanDuel.com today. And if you're new, you get $150 in bonus bets back if you win your first $5 bet. So again, head on over to FanDuel.com and never waste a hunch and make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. Thank you again for making Locked On Cavs your first listen today and every day. You can find the show anywhere you get your podcasts, Apple, Spotify, anywhere else. Drop us a 5-star rating. Leave us a nice review. Be a friend. Tell a friend about the Locked On Cavs podcast. Make sure you're subscribed. Make sure they are subscribed. Also available on YouTube. If you're watching this right now, do me a favor, hit that thumbs up button, click subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you don't miss the latest Locked On Cavs content. So Jarrett Allen had to leave the game in the 4th quarter. The Cavs kind of abruptly called the timeout with around, I think it was like 4 minutes left in this game. And he immediately went over to the bench, was checked out by the training staff, did not re-enter the game. It looked on TV as if the head trainer for the Cavs was looking at Jarrett Allen's left leg. I don't have an update right now. I don't know what this is going to be. By the time you're listening to this, we might know more about it. But right now, as I record this late on Monday night, we don't know more about this. So it's possible, obviously, if he had to leave the game, it is a possibility that he might need to miss some time. I don't know how much. I don't know if he will at all, but it's possible he might need to. So let's talk for a minute about what that would look like and how that would change the Cavaliers. I think the starting lineup then, if Jarrett Allen is not going to be into it, I think Dean Wade goes in and starts at the 4, which is more of his natural position. I think that grouping would probably go a little bit better than Dean Wade with the core 4 because Dean Wade can play power forward instead of small forward. Obviously, this pushes Evan Mobley to the 5, and we saw during the postseason last year, Evan Mobley, really good when he's playing the 5. We've seen so far this year, Evan Mobley, when he's on the floor without Jarrett Allen, has been at his best. So I don't think this is some addition by subtraction thing because the Cavs have been really good when Jarrett Allen is on the floor. But I also don't think this is some injury they can't survive either. I think they have a lot of depth there. This probably means Tristan Thompson starts playing 5 to 7 minutes a game because I don't know that the Cavs can get away with 48 minutes of center between Evan Mobley and Dean Wade. I think they're probably going to need Tristan Thompson at some point. If Jarrett Allen has to miss time, I don't think he's going to play more than like 10 or 12 minutes a game, but I think like between 5 and 10 is probably the sweet spot for him because if you can get it down to, okay, Evan Mobley and Dean Wade need to split 38 minutes of center, give Evan 32, 33, 34, Dean plays 4 or 5, Tristan Thompson plays like 7 or 8 or 9 or 10, then I think the Cavs can be in a much better spot. Now, hope it doesn't come to that. Obviously, you hope that Jarrett Allen is healthy and it was just a minor thing. Maybe it was a cramp. I don't know. But anytime a guy leaves the game that is a close game and does not come back into it after getting medical attention, you start to wonder whether or not it's something that does need to be taken seriously. The injury report for tomorrow's game in Philadelphia will come out later this afternoon. Obviously, there will be eyes on it. We'll learn a lot about that when it is released, whether or not Jarrett Allen's able to play, if he has any injury designation, if so, what is it? So we will learn a lot about that. But tomorrow night's game against Philly, I don't know what that's going to look like because Philadelphia plays their first NBA Cup game tonight. They take on the New York Knicks. I believe it's a nationally televised game. Joel Embiid is going to make his season debut in this game. Tyrese Maxey is out with a hamstring injury. Joel Embiid doesn't play in back-to-backs. So I would not expect him to be available against the Cavs on Wednesday. I would not expect Tyrese Maxey to be available against the Cavs on Wednesday. I'm not sure Paul George is going to be available against the Cavs on Wednesday. The Cavs might be facing off against a Philadelphia team that really is just a shell of who the Sixers actually are. And that doesn't mean they're not a dangerous team, but this should be a game that the Cavs should be able to win and win convincingly if they do take it seriously. I have no reason to believe they won't take it seriously. The only thing I do think you should be concerned about is this is a team that looks tired. This is a team that needs to have 2 days off in a row. They will get that a week from Thursday. So they have Philadelphia tomorrow, Chicago again on Friday, Charlotte on Sunday, then Boston and New Orleans Tuesday and Wednesday of next week, a road home back-to-back. And then they're off until the following Sunday. So that's when they'll finally get like 3 days of rest. And I think that will be everything and more that this team needs. But it's been a real grind getting to this point. And I think that's one of the things that makes this 12-0 start for the Cavs even more impressive than just looking at it from a record standpoint. The way that they've won these games, the fact that they've played more games in the NBA than any other team, all of those things combined to make me really, truly believe this is a team. I'm not saying they're going to win the title this year, but this is a team that I have no doubt in my mind is capable of winning the title this year. I didn't feel that way before the season, but this start has, to me, proven that anything with this team truly is possible. I want to say thank you to you for making Locked On Cavs your first listen today and every day. Like I said earlier, you can find the show anywhere you get your podcasts, Apple, Spotify, anywhere else. Drop us a 5-star rating, leave us a nice review, be a friend, tell a friend about Locked On Cavs. We're also available on YouTube. Just search Locked On Cavs. If you're watching this right now, hit that thumbs up button for me, click subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you don't miss the latest Locked On Cavs content. I will be back tomorrow once again talking about the best team in basketball. Keep it right here with Locked On Cavs.